Thank you so much for coming to New Canaan Library's Summer Reading Book Buzz. Tonight, our reference and instruction team is super excited to highlight 20 of the buzziest books of the season with some fun extras at the end. Afterwards, we invite you to take a look at our display. So we took log of what everyone read last summer in New Canaan. So we have them all in the back. Have a bite to eat, and then also collect your book lights from our volunteers and librarians in the back. While we get started, you can scan the QR code on the front page of your packet to sign up for summer reading so you can collect your book light. But also as we go along, the packet has all of the books we're going to talk about and a QR code that links directly to the catalog so you can place your hold today. Hopefully get a hold of the headline of the hold line before they get too crazy. All right, so we're doing this book buzz as our kickoff to our summer reading program. You can turn your pages into prizes. We're giving away gift cards, tote bags, books, these really cool New Canaan Library beach blankets. Very cool. And the most exciting part is one grand prize winner is going to get a ticket to skip the hold line on one print book. So if you have been sitting on a hold line that's super long, you want to cash it in, you'll be the first person to get a book. So we're very excited about that. All right. And we have 10 challenges you can do during the summer on Beanstack. We hope you have fun with them. They're really meant to kind of challenge yourself to read a little extra this summer. All right. So please join me in welcoming the Reference and Instruction Department.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna.
I'm Flannery.
I'm Cassidy.
I'm James.
Thanks for coming. This is great. Oh my gosh. And I have the pleasure of starting us off with one of our favorites. He's back, Daniel Mason, who you might know from Northwoods. He's coming out with his next book, Country People. And in this one, our star is named Miles. And Miles is a devoted family man. He's a great husband, a great father. But as a person, he's pretty lost. He's about 12 years late on his PhD in Russian folk tales. So he's actually about 14 years too late on that one. Oh my goodness. But his wife gets a position as a visiting professor in the faraway forests of Vermont. So he decides that this is the year he's going to get his life in order. But upon moving to Vermont, he actually meets these really enchanting and colorful people, much like out of his folk tales. And he gets carried away by all of this fun and soon discovers a local legend that might not just be a legend after all. So I'm sure you can pick up, there's a little bit in here like Northwoods, there's some magical realism. It's like a ghost story that's not so scary. So if you really enjoyed that about Northwoods, I think you're really gonna like this one. Also of note is that it does tie directly back into Northwoods, so be on the lookout for familiar names and places, and I think you'll be really entertained by this one.
All right, next up we have a suspenseful thriller by Chris Bojalian called The Amateur. For anyone who read his book, The Flight Attendant, or watched the TV show that was made of it, this may be of interest to you. It's August 1978, and Mira Winston, a high school senior, is golfing when she unfortunately kills her classmate in a freak accident. At least the town thinks it's an accident until her past recklessness and affair with a married man comes to light. Between the beautiful town of Westchester and the dingy county courtroom where Mira is on trial, this book explores what happens when one moment changes the course of an entire life.
Did anyone play MASH growing up? Mansion, apartment, shack, house? All right, so this might be for you. So this follows a 35-year-old woman named Ruby, who really, her life seems to be falling apart. She just got broken up with on her birthday. Things aren't really exactly how she planned her life to be. And so she goes to bed one night really upset and wakes up inside her MASH game from 7th grade. So she is driving a rainbow Jeep. She's living in a hot pink mansion, which is my dream. And she is married to her brother's annoying best friend. And they have no romance, no chemistry together. Until Ruby realizes that she has to make him fall in love with her to get out of the Smash game and back into real life. So this book, we'll see if Ruby can make him fall in love with her or if she falls for him first. And I think this will be a really great read if anyone liked The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. That one I really enjoyed a couple years ago when it came out. And I'm really excited to read the mashup.
So we're moving on to literary fiction, kind of tragicomic, family-focused literary fiction in this case. It's about a woman, this is Nebraska by Monica Datta. It's about a woman named Anna Chatterjee. In 1992, she's waiting at a train station with her son in New York. Something happens, they're hit by a train, her son dies, and she's sentenced to 15 years in prison for voluntary manslaughter. While things are unclear about what exactly happened during that day, the book picks up in the present with Anna being released. Her husband and their 2 adult children arrive at the prison to pick her up, and they find that she's actually already gone. She's vanished, seemingly without telling them, into the American heartland. And her disappearance triggers a traumatic reckoning with the event that tore the family apart. And as the book traces the origins of this event across continents, over the oceans, and through the decades, the question remains, where is Anna and why did she leave? This is supposed to be a really good pick for people who liked The Loneliness of Sonia and Sonny and for the works of Jonathan Franzen.
This is a new edition for me, so you'll forgive me if I look down at my paper on this one. But this is Sunrise. It is the 4th book from Thea Aubert, whose debut was Tiger Wife from a couple years ago, if you remember that one. In this upcoming book, we follow Nina, who is in a small engine aircraft with her boyfriend, when suddenly the plane crashes and she is stranded in the wilderness of Wyoming. When she can't find her boyfriend, she ventures out into the wilderness for help and stumbles across the ghost town Sunrise. It's completely abandoned, but it looks surprisingly well maintained. And it's at this point that our author actually transitions the book into 2 other narratives. We have the narrative that follows the disappearance of a boy in the same town in 1902. And then we jump a little further back into 2003, and we follow another narrative of someone uncovering the town's secrets. So in doing so, our author here is putting together the pieces of a century-old puzzle about this ghost town Sunrise. Definitely, if you're a big fan of the atmosphere of The God of the Woods, I think this one is going to be a really big hit for you. I'm really excited about this one. I don't know if anyone else is a big Riley Sager fan, but okay, James, I know you might wince at that a little, but I kind of adore, speaking of atmosphere, what Riley Sager is able to accomplish, and I'm looking forward to The Unknown. And in it, he starts us off in 1926, when 5 women mysteriously vanish from a remote island in Vermont. No one knows where they've gone. Some people think that they left the island willingly, and others think they were murdered. Some still say it was a seance gone wrong. Ooh. I hear you go, yes, in true Riley Sager form. But we cut to 100 years later, where we see Marin, who is an up-and-coming actress, and she's starring in a film about the disappearance, and she's really very excited for the role. She's a little deterred about the weird things that are happening on set. There are strange noises in the night, and there are strange symbols found all around the island. And when she and her castmates are stranded there thanks to a freak accident, the disappearances start up again. So we're left to, wonder, is this someone trying to sabotage the film, or are the supernatural forces really there? It's a Riley Sager book. You're going to want to have to figure that for yourself. If you've liked his books, you'll like this one. And especially if you liked the Alice Feeney or the Karen Slaughter thrillers, there's going to be some nice overlap with that in there.
All right. I know a lot of our patrons love historical fiction, especially historical fiction focused around World War II, the 1940s, so this one might be up your alley. A Year of Marvelous Ways is about Francis, a young veteran fresh out of World War II, and he is on a journey to deliver a letter from his dead best friend to his best friend's father. The journey does not go to plan. Francis gets drunk one night, goes on a bender, blacks out, and he wakes up on the beach in front of an eccentric old woman's house. Now, the book traces the story of the two creating an unlikely friendship as this woman nurses Francis back to health, and it explores what happens when you can bring purpose and connection back into someone's life. This is for fans of, as I said, historical fiction set in the 1940s, and anyone who has read Buckeye by Patrick Ryan and the exploration of unlikely friendships.
All right, so our next one I've specifically picked for my Women on the Edge book group ladies. Love you guys, hello. So this is called With Friends Like You by Amy Chozick. And this is a debut that when Flannery and I attended a book buzz that Penguin Random House put on, they were pushing that this is going to be like the it book of the summer. And they were comparing it a lot to All Fours by Miranda July, which was the it book of the summer last year in New Canaan. So we're really excited about this one. So after giving birth to her first child, Emily feels lost. Her friends are really snooty and pretentious. Her husband's super annoying. And she just really feels alone. And she really fixates on finding her college roommate, Daisy, who she really feels was truly the only person that really understood her. The only problem is that Daisy vanished when they were in college after stripping at a seedy nightclub. So, in this desperate search for Daisy, Emily moves from new mom blogs to seedy chat rooms where she's looking into billionaire secrets, high-end escort services, hitting one dead end after another until the unthinkable happens. Daisy suddenly reappears. So they, infuse their life together. Their friendship seems all magical. And the two launch a new mothers group. But the joy of their reunion soon fades, and it reveals deep cracks in their friendship. Is Daisy the key to Emily's happiness, or is she unraveling her world? And where has Daisy really been all these years? You'll have to find out in With Friends Like You by Amy Chozick.
So moving to, I believe, the first nonfiction selection of the night, Empire of Ink by Alex Wright. This book explores the history of how America found its voice, specifically how there was an explosive growth in print and newspaper in America from the end of the Revolutionary War up to about the dawn of the 20th century. The author, Alex Wright, focuses on the 19th century because this was a period where there was a lot of innovation and a lot of small and big papers. So if you just imagine the one-person small-town press all the way up to the big printer publishers like Hearst and Pulitzer. This book kind of covers all of that. And it covers the unlikely and incredible story of how the efforts of journalists, inventors, con men, big business, and kind of corporate interests all converged on this technology to create something new and is very much American. It also reveals how our country has kind of always struggled with the idea of the truth and how telling the truth is influenced when it comes into contact with things like power and profit. So great pick for people who are interested in American history and also for people who are interested in how the media covers the news and the way in which that has changed over time.
Okay, I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with Colson Whitehead. He has made quite a name for himself over the past decade. And this summer, he's coming out with the third and final book in his Harlem trilogy. Harlem Shuffle and Crook Manifesto were the first two. Cool Machine follows recurring furniture retailer and sometime criminal fence Ray Carney, this time in the 1980s. Ray has emerged after the past 2 decades successful and comfortable, but when his wife is denied a loan, Ray decides to take a gamble on one last heist and finds himself mixed up with a criminal mastermind. Colson Whitehead is a master of storytelling, character development, and place setting, and Publishers Weekly called this the greatest New York novel the greatest New York novel in years. So that sounds very enticing. If you've read the first 2 books in the trilogy, this is definitely a great ending, and something you're gonna wanna check out.
So with America 250 on the horizon, we did want to highlight another nonfiction title that, if you really enjoy American history, and especially if you're interested in women's American history, this one's for you. Obstinate Daughters follows the story of women who participated and helped define the American Revolution, and how it follows how their actions actually would shape our nation as a whole. I really want to recommend this to you, especially if you're a fan of the Ken Burns documentary series, which we're actually going to host here in the fall, so keep an eye out on that. We'd be happy to have you guys here. But if you like how Ken Burns structures his narratives, that is, we see multiple perspectives as they are involved in a larger narrative, I think you're really gonna like this one. Some of the perspectives that we follow include, we see the perspective of a Cherokee leader who warns patriots of incoming British attacks. We'll also see a British spy who's at the center of the plot to assassinate George Washington. And we'll also see perspectives of the enslaved women who fought for their own freedom during this larger conflict. So as I said, this is a really good one for women's history, and our author, Denise Kiernan, has written a lot in this field. She wrote The Girls of Atomic City, which was a really, really good one a couple years ago. I would definitely recommend this one to anyone looking forward to reflect on our history.
Okay. This is the book I'm most excited for. For anyone who is a fan of Greek mythology or the White Lotus, this one should be a good pick for you. When Julia Dodds meets Harry Adams, she falls hard and fast. But what she doesn't know is that Harry is actually Ares, the Greek god of war. If anyone knows anything about the Greek gods, you know that they love meddling in human affairs, and unfortunately for Julia, she is a prime target. This book has it all. It has love, betrayal, secrets, some spice, and, of course, family drama.
Our facility guys say they're really excited to read this one. So if anyone wants to join a book club with them, they're really excited about this one. All right, next up, we have Big Little Truths, which is the follow-up to Big Little Lies. So whether you've read Big Little Lies or watched the really amazing show on HBO, this is the perfect novel to get you started. It's been 10 years since we last saw the women of Big Little Lies, but the drama is still juicy. So their children's principal has just received a severed human finger in the mail, and there's a really strange man lurking around their school. And so these women have to really face their truths, especially the ones that they have been keeping from their children. So fans of the show will be pleased to know that HBO's already picking this book up for the 3rd season with the full original cast. They're reprising their roles. So I'm super excited. I do love Nicole Kidman. I think she's fabulous in everything she does. So I'm very excited to read this, but also to watch the new season. Very excited.
Next up is historical noir romance, The Intrigue by Silvia Moreno Garcia. You might recognize the author from Mexican Gothic, was her biggest hit. This is about a man named Ulysses who is in 1940s Mexico. He makes a living as a con man. He writes these very passionate, convincing letters to lonely women and basically convinces them that he's in love with them, and then he takes their money. He's decided that he needs to look for one kind of last big score because he's worried that he's outliving his good looks and charm, and he wants to make sure that he can retire nicely. And he thinks he's found a target. Perla is the owner of a prosperous local boarding house, and he thinks that this is his in, and he'll get in, romance Perla, and get out with the money. What he doesn't count on is Perla's niece Inez, who immediately clocks what he's doing and then surprises him even more by not turning him in, but instead demanding she wants in on the scam. Sparks start flying between the two immediately, but the plan that they've concocted together to con Perla out of her money runs into some difficulties when it turns out that Perla is also hiding a couple other things that they did not take into account of. So this is definitely a pick for people who are interested in noir and historical romance.
So if you've asked our colleague Tammy what book she recommends in the past 2 years, she's probably said The Frozen River by Ariel Lawton. And she is back with her new novel, The Pirate Queen. So we know that Tammy is very excited. She's out at the Cirque desk if anyone wants to talk to her about Frozen River or this book. She is so excited. So this is another historical fiction adventure inspired by the life of the infamous 16th century Irish sea captain and folk hero Grace O'Malley. Grace felt born to be at sea, but as the daughter of a nobleman, unsurprisingly, the life she craves isn't the one that meets the expectations around her. Married off to the wrong man, she carves out her place where she can, and eventually finds her way to sea, adventure, and her passion fulfilled. But soon, the English show up, always the English, to their Irish shores, threaten her family and her power, and she gains her own as she fights to defend her land and her people. So if you love Frozen River, place your holds now. We know this is going to be super popular.
I'm excited for this one too. Our dueling authors, Christina and Lauren, aka Christina Lauren, they are back with their next romance hit, aka The Romance Revival, and their next star is Dr. Emery Martin. She's an accomplished scientist. She's working on a top secret project, and 3 years ago, she did something shocking. She got married. Gasp, gasp, everyone. Everyone thought that she would never do it, but she is head over feet in love with her husband, Luca. It is just that she is a bit of a workaholic, and slowly over the past couple years, she has been putting more time into her work and her job than she has with Luca. Needless to say, the relationship is on the rocks when, on the night of their anniversary, a terrible, 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 terrible accident befalls Luca. Minor spoilers. Emery is able to save him, but it's at the cost of his memory. He does not remember her, the relationship that they have, their marriage, nothing. So for her, this is the chance that she needs to rekindle their relationship, to be a better partner. This is going to be a really good one. I think if you remember The Time Traveler's Wife, if you know the Adam Sandler classic 50 First Dates, I think you'll like this one. And definitely also, if you've been reading the Ali Hazelwood STEM romance books, I think you'll appreciate a little bit of that as well.
Okay, this one is a bit strange, but if you are a fan of the bizarre plots of Coen Brothers movies or really anything by Philip K. Dick, this might be right up your alley. Julia is a 20-something gamer who is completely shocked when her estranged mother reaches out with a job offer. Julia is given a video game controller, and stay with me here, her job is to guide a comatose man with an AI chip in his brain across the US. Now, this man, she calls him Bernie, he is trapped in a nightmare. He has no idea who or where he is. And as Julia guides him across the country, they have to forge an unlikely allyship to get him through his nightmare scenario. This is a darkly comedic sci-fi book that plays on, movies such as Weekend at Bernie's or Blade Runner, but it has twists and turns all of its own. So if you are a fan of sci-fi, maybe if you're not and you want to try something new, this one is definitely very unique.
Any true crime fans out there? This one's crazy. All right, so this is Catch the Devil by Pamela Coliff. And it follows this serial criminal named Paul Skalnick. Has anyone heard of him before? Okay, which is crazy because he is insane. So for more than 30 years, he roamed the US lying about who he was. So he pretended to be a terminal cancer patient for many, an FBI agent, an oil man, a criminal defense attorney. He was even like flying planes at some point, allegedly, which is just insane. And, you know, he's just living all these different lives. At one point, he was like married to like 6 women all at once because he had these different aliases. And, you know, eventually he got caught. He couldn't live this lie for forever. And so he kind of moved on to his next serial crime, which was fabricating jailhouse confessions from his fellow inmates and selling them to Florida prosecutors. So essentially, he was getting these poor people convicted of crimes that they really pretty much no proof that they committed other than his word. And he did this because he got less time in prison, and he would go back into these cycles of lying about who he was, ending back up in jail, and then getting these confessions. But the craziest and his most like serious offense was in 1985, when his false testimony successfully landed Jim Daly, who was a Vietnam War veteran, to death row for the murder of a 14-year-old girl. To this day, there's still no DNA evidence that he had anything to do with this crime. And in fact, somebody else is out there right now claiming for responsibility of this murder. But Paul Skalnick still refuses to recant his testimony. This book really exposes how deeply flawed the justice system is and how, you know, as a society, we prioritize securing convictions over finding the truth. I'm really excited to read this. Pamela Koloff is a really amazing ProPublica writer, and she actually started writing this as an article for ProPublica, and then she just found so much that she ended up writing this book. This one is mind-blowing, and I'm leaving out a ton of details because I could sit on the stage and talk about this all day. So super, super excited to read this one, and if any true crime people out there, you gotta get on this. And even today I just saw that HBO is trying to buy the rights to make this into a docuseries, so you'll wanna read it before you watch.
Okay, so this is a multi-generational family saga, The Great Wherever by Shannon Sanders. It follows 32-year-old Aubrey Lamb, who is a semi-employed gig worker in DC who's going through a bit of a rough patch. Her serious relationship has just ended unexpectedly, and she's still reeling over the recent death of her father. So when she learns that she has, out of nowhere, inherited a portion of a sizable farm in Tennessee, she thinks that this might be a path towards a new future for her. When she arrives at the farm, she begins to learn about its history and about the people who lived and fought over this land from her living family, not knowing that her ancestors, 4 ancestors, ghosts who were set to inherit the land but did not, are here and present for this conversation. And they are commenting and passing judgment on all of these things that these people are talking about. And at the end of the day, the deadline is coming for Aubrey to make a decision. Should she sell her stake in the farm in order to secure that new future for herself, or does the weight and claims of her ancestors and of her own family history outweigh that need for a future? This is supposed to be something that people who really enjoyed the love songs of W.E.B. Du Bois, and for those who enjoyed the ghostly commentaries and visitations in the books like Northwoods or in Vigil. And this is actually our final pre-pub book of the night, The Shampoo Effect by Jenny Jackson. This is the second novel from the author of Pineapple Street. In this book, an aspiring writer named Caroline falls quickly and unexpectedly for a local while on residency in a beach town in Massachusetts, and finds herself kind of enmeshed with his tight-knit group of lifelong friends. They're all 30-somethings with small kids, and they're all navigating this new time in their lives. Caroline finds writing inspiration in their shared history, but she also uncovers some stories that weren't meant to be told. This is a book that promises a lot of laughs, an unexpected baby, decades of secrets, and a ton of heart, which is driving this character-driven saga.
All right. So, as librarians, we're constantly being asked what we recommend and what we want to read. And since one of our summer reading categories is to read a book you've been meaning to get to or you meant to read last summer, we wanted to talk a little bit about the books that we're excited to read this summer. We've all picked books that are already out. So if you've read any of these, come see us after. Let us know what you think. So we're going to get into some of these staff picks are things that we're excited to get into. So the first one is for myself. I'm really excited to read this. It's called Dead 11 by Jimmy Giuliano. Anyone read this one? All right, I'll read it first and tell you what I think. So this is a debut horror novel that came out a couple years ago about a mysterious island where the community is trapped in 1994. So they're obsessively reliving the O.J. Simpson car chase. They're terrified of the internet. They're just kind of stuck in this weird loop, isolated loop. So our book follows Willow Stone, who is a mother who is searching for answers about her son's death. And she somehow thinks that she's going to find these answers on the island. And when she's there, she's uncovering some really sinister secrets on how this town is kind of stuck in this loop. It's praised for being creepy, slow burn thriller that has a little bit of 90s nostalgia in it. And I got a lot of comparisons to Stephen King and Stranger Things. But the reason I'm super excited to put it back to the top of my TBR is I am obsessed with Apple's new TV show, Widow's Bay. I don't know if anyone has seen it. It is so good. Highly recommend. And I recently saw an Instagram post, which is if you are having withdrawals from Widow's Bay being over, to read this book because it is supposed to kind of scratch that itch. So if I have any Widow's Bay fans in this crowd, please come find Flannery and I after. We have a lot of theories on season 2.
Okay, I have the only nonfiction read, and this one has been out for some time. It's, I think, it's past 20 years old, but it came out when I was like 2 years old, I think, so I didn't have the chance to read it yet. But I am very excited to read this one. It's been on my back burner for some time. It's The Devil in the White City by Eric Larson, who he's just come out with some other things as of late. I think The Devil's Unrest is his most recent title. And this one, a couple reasons why I'm excited for it. Number one is I am kind of obsessed with theme parks and the World's Fair. And from what I understand, the primary history in this book is the Chicago's World's Fair and sort of, what went into building that, problems that were faced. Guys, I can't express, I'm so excited to see like what happened when the Ferris wheel was invented, because before this, no Ferris wheel. Can you imagine a world without a Ferris wheel? Because I sure can't. So I'm excited for that. And the other bit of it is obviously the devil part of The Devil in the White City, and that is H.H. Holmes. So this will be for the part of you that likes true crime. He's most famous for being America's first serial killer. He made a murder hotel. Look it up. It's kind of crazy and insane that he got away with this. But as somebody who took a forensics class in high school, and that could have been a pipe dream of hers maybe, this is definitely something that I'm interested in as well. I'm sure many of you have read this, but for those who haven't, let's read it together this summer. And if you have read it, please don't spoil anything for me. I know it's nonfiction, but spoilers still do count.
Okay, I have a rather large appetite for the macabre, and so when I saw this book, I was so excited to check it out. It is called Happy People Don't Live Here by Amber Sparks, and she had written a bunch of collections of short stories before this, but this was her debut novel. A mother and daughter move into an apartment building that used to be a sanatorium, and they encounter a slew of strange neighbors and ghosts. Now, among these neighbors are a woman who works at a nightclub as a mermaid, a medium, and an awkward yet charming medieval studies professor. That one really got me. Now, everything is going well until Fern, the 11-year-old daughter, finds a dead body outside of one of the dumpsters. Fern is obsessed with mystery novels and wants to be a detective, and so honestly, this is the perfect thing to have happen. But as she investigates and looks deeper into the mystery, she starts to reveal secrets that maybe were best left buried, especially the ones she finds out about her mother. So this is a gothic book. It's darkly comedic. And what really attracted me to it was one review, I think it was from Library Journal, said, "This is for fans of Nancy Drew who wished there was an adult component." So yeah, super excited for this. Can't wait.
So I'm not sure if anybody else out there is kind of like me when it comes to summer reading. Sometimes when I say, oh, there's a book I want to read this summer, it's one book, and it's usually because it's like 800 pages long. King's Sorrow by Joe Hill is, I believe, almost 900 pages long. It's a doorstopper of a thriller about 6 college friends who attempt a ritual that threatens to smash reality apart in order to save one of their own who's gotten into trouble. Unfortunately, they succeed. While they now have the power to destroy their enemies, they have accidentally entered into a contract where if they don't offer a sacrifice up every year to the force that they have summoned, they're the ones on the chopping block. As time passes, decades, the friends begin to disagree on what to do about the situation that they found themselves in and the strange, kind of unthinkable, unaccountable power that they now hold. And as these tensions grow, their bonds are tested, and King's Sorrow is just waiting for them to make a single mistake. This book caught my attention for one particular reason, well, 2 reasons. The first is that there was almost universal praise from critics, including one article from Library Journal saying that with this book, author Joe Hill might have even eclipsed his own famous father. Since Joe Hill's father is Stephen King, I immediately locked into this one, so I'm very excited to read this one this summer.
And we didn't plan for them to all be spooky and dark. But the one thing that really bonds us as a department is our childhood love of Scooby-Doo. So maybe that has kind of come out in these staff picks. I don't know what that says about us, but I guess we have all these dark and spooky ones. So we're excited. We hope you will read some of these with us this summer. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you. We do have new Canaan Library booklights for everyone. So if you want to visit our teen volunteers and our other librarians in the back, they're so pretty. They're right there. You want to go say hi to them and get your booklight. And then we have a really wonderful reception. Thank you to Wegmans for catering. So please have a really nice snack, place your holds, pick up your booklight, and let us know if there's anything you're excited to read. We really can't wait to see what you guys are going to get up to this summer. Thank you.